All right, welcome back, guys. My name is Logan with West Desert Shooter, and this is another episode of Reloading and Results. This one is with my 7mm-08, and this is a custom build rifle. This is an American rifle company, Arca action, and then it has a 7mm-08 barrel spun up by Garrett Preece at Preece Precision. I am really starting to become very happy that I went with Preece Precision on this rifle. Every trip I take it out, this thing just keeps stacking them up. And today is no different, to spoil the results a little bit. So I'm recording this after having shot the groups, so I'm just gonna kind of talk through what happened, and then we're gonna go out on the range, shoot the groups, and then we'll come back and talk about velocities and group sizes. So why am I shooting the 708 today? I went out and I found a new pound of IMR4895. I've never used this powder. I brought it home, I loaded up some 223, and I loaded up some bullets with 708. Now, I don't know exactly where the burn rate falls for 4895 as far as what the ideal weight bullet is for the 708. I know that it works with it clearly, but I'm gonna shoot a range of bullet weights to see what my rifle tends to like. So we're starting on the low end. These are old bullets. These from like 1999, 7mm 120 grain Spitzers. So these are a flat base soft point, not a match bullet. Following that up, we've got Speer 7mm 160 grain Spitzers. Soft point, flat base. This is a lot bigger bullet, but again, pretty old bullet. This thing was marked as $14.35 for 100 Speers. So whenever you could pick up 100 bullets for 14 bucks, unfortunately for 7mm, that is nowhere near what you're paying these days. But and then finally, we are going to shoot some modern bullets, and these are my Barnes 171 grain match burners. So I really like the match burners. I've shot them in 6.5, I've shot them in 6mm. I've had really good luck with them, and they're very forgiving. Like, you can load them to all sorts of different stuff, and they will shoot well through most things, but if you really tune them up, you can get them to shoot really good. And that's what we're hoping to do today. As far as primers, we've got large rifle primers from CCI. These are BR2s, and I've had these a long time, a couple of years, and they've been sitting in my cabinet for a long time. I actually forgot that I had them. They were in a bigger CCI box that had a mix of different primers in it, and I opened it up the other day and I was like, oh shit, I have some BR2s. I should use these before the humidity or something gets to them. I'm in a fairly dry environment, and they live within the house, so it's not like they're going through any crazy environmental conditions. But overall, I have the old primers. Let's shoot the old ones first. Let's get rid of those, right? So what's our load data for today? On the 120 grain with the IMR4895, everything's going to get one powder charge, keeping it simple, and then we're going to shoot 5 shots of each one. The only bullet that gets shot twice is our Barnes 171, and we'll cover that here in a second. We're going to do 41 grains IMR 4895 with the 120 grain Spitzer. With the 160s, we're going to go to 38.5. Oh, sorry, let's cover the overall length with the 120s. Overall length on the 120s is 2.78. With the 160 grain Speers, we're loading those up with 38.5 grains and an overall length of 2.8. Pretty standard short action cartridge length there. And then the Barnes 171. This is where we're going to change things up a little bit. I'm going to shoot 2 overall lengths. Now, when the barrel was brand new, I used my Hornady case length gauge to determine where the lands were, where the bullet would contact the lands with this bullet. I did it with many bullets when the barrel was brand new, and so through the life of the gun, we can kind of track if it's stretching out or whatnot, you know. So first round, 38 grains for both of these with the match burners. The first ones are going to be loaded to a standard 2.8, and then 2.920 is where I loaded them out to, and that would be 20 thousandths off the lance. So at 2.8, we're jumping these things 140 thousandths. That's a pretty significant jump there, and we're going to see how that goes for us. I've shot match burners up close to the lands, and I've also jumped them further away from the lands, and I've gotten good results both ways. But with my old 6.5 Creedmoor, it's certainly liked it up near the lance, so I'm excited to go see how they turn out during this shooting trip. As far as the shooting trip itself, we were out there in wonderful conditions. It was like low to mid 50s, it was cloudy, and there was no wind where I was. We're using our AB Suppressor Raptor 6-stack out on the end of this thing with our reflex. This is a 20-inch barrel rifle with a 1:8 twist, and the 20-inch barrel really makes this thing bark. It's a loud gun. And so putting that Raptor out on there, I'm going to use the reflex to just try and quiet it and tame it down as much as possible. And yeah, it doesn't bother me at all. The gun's already a pig. It's got steel weights under the barrel in here from American Rifle Company. So adding that weight of the reflex doesn't bug me at all. Which, by the way, that's a full titanium can, fully welded. The reflex is removable, but amazingly lightweight. So it's just a direct thread option. You just get that thing nice and snug. I'm really enjoying the AB suppressors on there. It sounds really good. I shot with no ears this day. Do I recommend that for everybody? No, do your own thing. For me, I like having no ears on. That way I can hear if there's a dirt bike around or whatever else. You know, just be more aware of my surroundings. And yeah, I like to shoot suppressed. The scope on this guy is our Tract Toric Ultra HD. This guy is the PRS model, so it's got a little bit different reticle in it, and it is a 4.5 to 30, I believe is the magnification on this. Really awesome scope. I love this thing. It's an American Rifle Company rings. The chassis is from American Rifle Company, the CeeLo. I'm just shooting off of a rear beanbag as a rear support. MDT Skypod out front, hanging onto the Arca rail on this gun. Pretty standard stuff. Yeah, let's get out to the range, see how this thing shoots today.
All right, guys. Unfortunately, I just talked to my camera thinking it was on, and it wasn't. So we are shooting at 100 yards. This is my American Rifle Company Archimedes 7mm-08. Our first rounds we're shooting are the Sierra 120 grains. I just shot 2 rounds in a row and just realized that the camera wasn't on. So here we are. We've got our FX True Ballistic chronograph up there. I got that from Utah Airguns. Check them out if you guys are looking for long-range shooting accessories and or air guns, as the name implies. Yeah, this guy's an Archimedes, so we got the lever bolt on here. I can really tell if a round gets hot because I'll have to use this bolt to extract it. So far, these first 2 rounds have been super mild and definitely looking good for 4895. First 2 right on the 2645 range. Yeah, that's what we're working on. So on to shot 3. This rifle was cold before I shot it. It was zeroed on my last range trip with the Huxwrx 7.62 tie can. I swapped over to my AB Suppressor's Raptor 6-stack, and this time it's shooting just a little bit high left, but it's also different ammo, so it's hard to say exactly where all the variables are coming from. So let's continue shooting our group. Gun is now warmed up. Okay, that rounds out our 5-shot group. All right, guys, moving on to Speer 160 grain Spitzers. These are a soft point flat base, and they are old. So these things are like 20 years old. I do have 200 of them, so hopefully we see some promise here, and we get to play more with these in low development. I wrote down that I got the information on these from the Hodgdon Data website, and if I remember correctly, there's like every Hodgdon powder that works with 708 with these 160 grain Spitzers, so should work out pretty nice. This barrel is a 1-to-8 twist, which, looking back on it, completely unnecessary in 708. I always err on the side of a fast twist rate, and it's just not needed with this. But 160s and a 1-to-8 twist, can't go wrong with that. Here we go. Getting just a little bit of cam over on these guys. Everything still looks happy. Yep, just that little kiss of cam over on the bolt. Nice. That looks good. I'm excited to measure that one up. Yeah, these old 160 soft points showing some promise. I mean, these are not match bullets, so seeing a hunting bullet stack them up is always cool with me, especially when I have 200 of them. All right, time to shoot some modern bullets with some hollow point boat tail 171 grain match burners from Barnes Bullets. I really like the match burners. I've used them in different calibers and I'm a fan. So hopefully this guy starts stacking them up with these. This is the recommended overall length at 2.8. Our next group will be stretched out 20 thousandths off the lands. Hopefully it shoots both good. You know, I don't know if I have a preference over which one I'd want to shoot better. Whichever one fits in the magazine, I suppose. They might both fit in the mag. Let's find out here in a minute. But for now, 2.8 is up. Radar's on. Camera's recording. Let's see how she shoots. And kind of finishing it out. It's really not that pretty. Low velocity, high standard deviation. So something about those Speer 160s this powder liked, but everything else I've shot today, it has not given good standard deviations. Final round, overall length 2.920 Barnes 171s with 38 grains of IMR4895. As I mentioned earlier, whichever one fits in the mag, 2.920 fits in the mag with room to go. So just so you know, MDT 12 round steel mag, MDT Skypod up front. You know, there's some brands that just get it, and MDT is one of them, man. Like, they just constant bangers with products. Like, they all are just exactly what long-range precision guys are after. Oh yeah, here we go. Final group. Hoping this one shoots better than the last. It's the same powder charge and a longer overall length. Nothing's weird here, and it looked just fine. It should lower our pressure. Oops. Okay, I'm getting really consistent, like preload on the bipod, bag squeeze, all that. And so far it's looking good. Ah, now I'm getting mirage. Come on. Got one more shot left. We'll stack it up. Try not to cook that round up too much. Yeah, I got a lot of mirage. The scope's all sorts of blurry. So I'll keep my cheek weld at times like this, and I can look around with both eyes open to relax my eyes so that I'm not overly focused through the scope. Okay, I think we got a chance here to lay down a really good group if we can get this fifth shot in there. Let's go. We do it? It's hard to say from here, but that looks really, really good. Barnes 171's close to the lands might be the ticket here, guys, with this gun. This barrel was spun up by Garrett Preece, and it doesn't have a SAMI chamber in it. It's got the European equivalent of SAMI chamber, whose name escapes my mind at the moment, but great looking group. I got some empty ammo boxes, a bunch of holes and some targets. The sun's about to go down. It's really weird weather out here right now. It's cloudy, like you would think it'd be windy, and there are big storm clouds, but then this way it's nice and like blue skies. It's not windy, it's nice and cool, and there's no wind. This is really weird weather right now. But overall, great time at the range right now. Let's go back to the bench. We're going to talk about these groups and yeah, see what she did today.
All right, guys, we had a great range trip out there, and I had a great time on the range. This rifle I shot after my 223 Remington, which had already shot a bunch of really small groups, and I was just super happy about it. So I grabbed my 708, and I was like, well, I know this thing ain't gonna let me down. Let's see what it can shoot today. So, starting off with the Sierras, we're gonna cover velocities real quick. With the 120 grain Sierra at 41 grains of IMR4895, we got an average of 26.23 with an SD of 21.8. We were seeing low 20s on our AR-15, and we're still seeing that with the bolt gun with the Sierra 120s. Not exactly like a thing I'm super happy about. I want a sub 10 SD with this rifle. I know that it's capable of it, so we just need to find the right powder and the right primer combo to make that happen. Moving on to Speer 160s at 38.5 grains. Our average velocity was 23.82, quite a bit slower with an SD of 10.3. So there we go. Now we finally got our first good SD with this powder. Unfortunately, it's taken quite a few groups to find that. So it's kind of confusing. Like, these are both 5-shot groups. What happens if I shoot more of that 38.5 grains? Is that where it actually wants to be? Or is that just some lucky SDs there where it wasn't all over the map yet? Just those 5 rounds seemed to shoot pretty good. Maybe if I continued shooting, we would see some open up. I don't know. On to the Barnes 171 match burners, 38 grains. At our 2.8 length, we shot an average of 23.56 with an SD of 27. Another disappointing SD on this. This is actually one of our worst SDs of the day, and it's with the bolt gun. So like, at least the gas gun has the excuse of it's running the gas system, direct impingement, all that. Why is this not getting good SDs here? We've got brand new alpha brass. This stuff is super high quality, and it's the first time it's being fired, all that. It's got good neck tension. It's got consistent neck tension on everything. Bullets were seated with an arbor press. Like, all the charges were weighed consistently. This should be stacking them up here, and just not excited about that SD. That's a bit of a bummer there. Then finally, our 2.920, so 1.120 longer overall length. We got an almost identical average velocity, so that's very interesting, at 2353, and this guy did get a good standard deviation of 8.8. So it's very interesting that bumping it out that much, we didn't lose velocity. That seems pretty strange to me. I'm not exactly sure how that worked out, but there we go, I guess. And then the SD of 8.8, I'm really happy with that on that one. So for whatever reason, the Speer 160 grain got a good SD, and then the long overall length got a good SD, but the short overall length on the match burners did not. This kind of makes me think like this powder is a little temperamental, and if I were to shoot more of those 2.920s overall length, the long ones, I think our SD would creep up as we continued shooting. I don't know. I'd have to shoot more of them to know. Small sample size there, right, guys? But interesting that the velocity didn't change a whole lot. That really does surprise me. Usually if you stretch out your bullet, you lose some velocity. So let's talk about the groups that we shot with this gun with these different bullets and IMR4895. Again, Alpha Munitions 7mm-08 large rifle primer brass, and then those old CCI BR2 primers. There's no reason for me to think that they're bad. I just want to shoot them to make sure that they get used while they are good and it doesn't cause me issues in the future. Sierra 120, we start out with our first group cold and clean. I had cleaned the barrel of this gun and hadn't shot a single round through it. It was already zeroed from the last range trip. It's just interesting to see how this thing would do cold. It's probably not the greatest idea to shoot a cold gun for load development, although this isn't load development, right, guys? This is just, hey, does this bullet like this powder generally? And if it does, let's chase after that. So our first group, we shot 2 rounds right into each other and then 3 off to the left with an overall group size of 1.01 inches. Overall, kind of meh, not super awesome. 3 of them wanted a group and 2 of them wanted a group that just wasn't a group altogether. So that was a little bit of a disappointment there. It happens. Not everything shoots the greatest together. So moving on to our Speer 160 grain bullets. This is a 1-to-8 twist 708. So 160s, it doesn't care. It's going to over-stabilize those bad boys, and it's going to send them down range spinning like crazy. And we shot 5 rounds into a 0.61 inch group. Very interesting looking group here. It's very interesting that like it didn't tear the paper completely along those 4 shots, and like there's just enough room to leave some of that residue in between each bullet. So I think that's kind of funny. These are just some printing labels, 4x6 printer labels that I have a little target designed for. It's just a super easy, cheap thing to do and just slap it on a cardboard box, go shoot it in the desert. So 0.61 inches, not mad about that. The group, you can tell these bullets are trying to group, and these aren't match bullets. Neither are the Sierras. Like, they're hunting bullets. I would not be mad about that at all with those Speer 160s heading out into the woods and trying to take something down. The gun is way too heavy, and this will never be my hunting rifle, but that load could be a potential good hunting load for someone else. So check out the Speer 160s with the IMR4895. That's definitely not a bad combo there. Moving on to our Barnes 171s. At the short overall length, our group size is a 0.85. Overall, kind of a meh group. It's not a huge group, like it's still 0.85. But you can see these guys are not trying to stack up on top of each other. So, with the shorter overall length, jumping this bullet to the lands, are we going to see any difference as loading them up close to the lands versus, you know, how we saw the same performance with velocity with those two? How is it going to group differently by making the bullet 20 thousandths off the lands, or at least nearly 20 thousandths off the lands, or maybe a couple thousandths, give or take? Here we go. What does the group look like? Damn, this thing stacked them up. A Barnes 171, 20 thousandths off the lands, and a 0.43 inch group. And like, those things were trying to stack on top of each other. That is a great looking 5-shot group. It's hard to tell that there are 5 shots there, but I assure you there are. And yeah, super excited about that. Like, that's the performance I'm after. So generally, I'm gonna see if other powders like to shoot this bullet that close to the lands, or maybe it's just the 4895 that likes it. That'll be an interesting test as well. So got some good groups, got some good velocities overall. We could definitely push it on velocities on everything here. The 120s have a decent velocity, it seems like, but they're a light bullet, so I don't know how fast we can push these. It is a 20-inch barrel, so it's never going to be like the hot rod of the group, but overall, I think 2,300 feet a second, 2,350 with a 20-inch barrel. I'm sure we can get more than that out of a 170 grain. This action, we could definitely lean on it a lot more. The Archimedes, like I talked about shooting, it's got the lever on here that pivots in relation to the action. So what's cool about that is as you start to get into hot rounds, you can feel when your case is starting to stick. Normally on a rifle, they would call that a clicker. I don't know at what point of, you know, using that lever it would actually be a clicker in a different action, but I felt a couple of these rounds that were a little bit stout. You could feel it just barely like start to engage that lever and then it would come out of the chamber, but it would not freely just pull it out like 2 of the rounds were, where you literally just pull the bolt up and it just slides right back. It has no resistance at all. A couple of them were hot enough that like, oh, okay, yeah, this guy is starting to get into some pressure here. I wasn't scared about it. Everything looks great on the brass and everything, but you can just tell, hey, the gun's starting to do some work here where you're gonna have to extract the brass out of it. So I'm really happy about this range trip. We shot a couple good groups, shot a couple meh groups. Nothing bad. I mean, our worst group of the day was a 1-inch group, 20-inch barrel, 100 yards. This is a very nice barrel and a good action. This thing should be stacking them up. But again, that's with a 1999 Sierra 120 grain Spitzer. Like, what do we really expect there? I'm sure we could tune it and get it to shoot better. But overall, how do I feel about IMR4895 with a 708? I'd be curious to see how much further we can push it for velocities with these different bullets and see where it really kind of shines as far as its burn rate and the bullet and the weight of bullet that it wants to shoot. The velocities really kind of push me away from it though. Seeing SDs of 20s and then seeing a couple at 10 and 8. If 3 of the groups had good SDs, I could be like, okay, but where all my AR-15 had bad SDs, and then this guy had 2 out of the 4 with bad SDs, like, this powder really isn't shining as far as just consistent muzzle velocities. But it can shoot a group accurately, or it can shoot a precise group out there at range. So interesting to see all the things that you can give and take out here reloading, all the variables. That's why I like doing this, guys. It gets me fired up. It's so fun to go see what happens. That's why I bought this powder and why I tried it with these different bullets. I just had no idea. And so I was like, let's find out. So that's what this whole video is based on, is just, hey, what is this powder gonna do in the 708? I hope it was helpful for you guys, get a little bit of info on this, see how the thing shot. And overall, I hope you enjoyed the content. Definitely let me know down below if you use IMR4895 in your 708. And if you do, what weight bullet are you shooting with that thing? I greatly appreciate your guys' time, and we will see you in the next one.